Fischer and then Senator Booker. Senator Fischer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member Bozeman, for holding this hearing today. As all of you know, Nebraska is the beef state. I represent every segment of the supply chain, from cow-calf producers to backgrounders to large and small feed yards. And also, we have 3 of the 4 big packers in the state of Nebraska. The livestock industry contributes $13.8 billion to Nebraska's economy annually. It is the economic engine of my state. I first introduced legislation nearly 2 years ago after hearing concern from cattle producers in Nebraska, but also all across this nation. Senator Grassley has introduced legislation for 20 years. This is not a new issue. This is not an issue that came about due to COVID. It has existed for years. The goal of this legislation has not changed. We want to ensure every segment of the beef supply chain can succeed by ensuring robust price discovery and market transparency. We know negotiated transactions involve a bid and an ask. They facilitate price discovery to establish the going rate for cattle. We also know negotiated transactions have drastically declined over the past 20 years. The decline has been especially pronounced in some regions of the country. I understand the value of AMAs. They can provide economic returns and operational efficiencies. However, AMAs rely on the negotiated market, often using publicly reported cash price information to set their base prices. Producer groups almost uniformly acknowledge concern about cash price information becoming too thin. Over the past 2 years, we've witnessed voluntary industry efforts to increase negotiated trade. And while there was some success, ultimately, by the industry's own standards, these voluntary efforts failed. And they failed because of packers' lack of participation. While we look at this, we can understand this is why we're here today. We know more market transparency and price discovery is needed, and I am pleased that we have half of this committee as co-sponsors of this bill. Working in a strong bipartisan fashion with my colleagues from all around the country, our legislation will address these issues. Madam Chairman, I have a letter of support from the Nebraska cattlemen about the need for robust price discovery and market transparency. I wish we could have had a Nebraska producer here, but as is noted in their letter, quote, none of our producer members we encouraged to testify were willing to put themselves out front for fear of possible retribution by other market participants, an unfortunate reality of today's cattle industry, end quote. This concern demonstrates an imbalance in market power. Chairman Stabenow, I would ask for unanimous consent to submit this letter from Nebraska cattlemen into the record.
So ordered without objection.
Thank you. I would also like to highlight a series of articles from the Omaha World Herald. The latest article discusses that producers' share of the beef dollar has continued to decline, while the packers' share went up 31% last year. Some today will claim that the seller is in the driver's seat. We all know how out of touch that statement is. If cattle producers were in the driver's seat, they would set a price and the packer would take it. Instead, producers take the price that is offered by the buyer. Producers face a take it or leave it market. That is the reality. Chairman Stabenow, I would ask for unanimous consent to submit these articles from the Omaha World Herald into the record.
So ordered without objection.
Mr. Green, in June of 2021, USDA's Agriculture Marketing Service released a report that indicated 18% of AMAs have no premium or discount associated with them. I agree that AMAs may be important to certain value-based marketing systems, but there are a large number of cattle procured through AMAs to reward quantity, not quality. Is it correct that there are a sufficient amount of AMAs that are not tied to any quality or value-based attributes? And can you speak to other marketing methods, such as negotiated grid, which is in this bill, that can contribute to price discovery while also rewarding quality?
Thank you, Senator. I'm not specifically aware. I can't specifically speak to that particular report, but it is absolutely the case, because we put out numbers in June, that we now can see the distribution of cattle net prices in AMAs, and we've learned a lot from that, including that there's some that have very high premiums and discounts, and some that are really very close to the cash negotiated price. And I would absolutely also agree that the negotiated grid, I was just out in your neighbor state, Kansas, and also in Missouri, and hearing a lot of excitement about negotiated grids is something that producers are interested in exploring more of, because they do enable the premiums and discounts, yet also enable that negotiation around the base price. And so it is absolutely important to making sure that price discovery is a common good. Everyone recognizes that, and that the contributions for that, and that we have we have the market we need so that the price can actually be set, and so that producers really have choice and competition.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.